Hi everyone, now in this part we're gonna start building our API. We're gonna start with the user API, and in the next video we're gonna build with the post API. As you know, our blog application has two models. We have the user model and the post model, what we're gonna work on in the next video. Now we need to install Laravel here. We need to install Laravel. Let's move to this section here. You have to copy this command to install Laravel A, or if you prefer, you can even install a version which is greater than A version. Here I've already installed Laravel A in my computer. You can see I got Laravel A. The next things, you have to install Laravel Sanctum. You have to install the Laravel Sanctum, which is a Laravel package that allows to secure our endpoints, but also we can create tokens with this package. Now you need to install Laravel Sanctum, copy this command. Once you finish install Laravel Sanctum, the next thing is to publish Laravel Sanctum within your application. Now you have to copy this command and copy it within the command prompt. You have to make sure you are in the root folder of your directory. Now here you need to copy also this command php artisan migrate to migrate all your tables. php artisan migrate. Here you can see within the migration we got a table which is personal access token, which is a migration created by Laravel Sanctum, where we are going to store tokens of logged user. And here I've already made the database connection, which is the blog post. If we go within the php-admin, you're going to see here you got personal access token and the user model. Now the next thing is to add Laravel Sanctum within your kernel.php file. Copy this and move to the kernel.php on API array. Add this line. And then the last thing is add Laravel Sanctum within the user model. You have to add this class, his API tokens. Here, if we go to the user model, you're gonna see his API tokens, and you're gonna use these traits. Now, once you finish set up Laravel Sanctum, you're ready. We are ready to start building our API. Now we need to create the auth controller, where we are going to put two methods. We are going to put in the register and the login methods. Here auth controller, you can see we got it right here. We need to, let me first run my server. Let our server up running. Serve. And then within the within the auth controller, we need to import the hash class. We're gonna use this class to hash the user password and to check if the provided password it is valid. But also we need to use the validator class and also import the user model. We need to import here use models, and then here the user. Now we need to start with the register method here, and then the login method. Now here we're gonna pass within the register the request class, and then here we are going to request all our fields. We're going to do request all, and then if we go within the user model, you're gonna see here we are going to request three fields: the name, email, and password. And then here we're going to create a variable headers where we're going to store all our headers returned by the validator class. We're gonna use make. We're gonna pass our fields. And then here we are going to validate the name. Say the name, it is going to be required, but also it is going to be a string. Let's copy this line here, and here we're going to pass the email. We're going to say it is going to be, let me copy this here like this. We're going to say it is going to be an email, and the email, it is going to be unique within the users table. We're going to pass here users and then email, and then the password, it is going to be required. We are not going to add another rule for the password. Now here we have to check if the errors, if the validation fails. We're going to use the fails method, and if it fails, we need to return a response with a status of 422 response. Then here we're going to do errors dot all, and then here 422, and then we need to create the user once the validation it is okay, double colon, create. Then here we're gonna pass the name, then here fields name, and here the email. And the last field, it is going to be the password, and we need to hash it using the bcrypt method. Bcrypt. Then here we need now to return the created user. Here user, we need to return the created user, and here we're going to return a message. We're going to say your account was created. Now, and we are done now. And then the next thing, we have to get into the root folder to create an endpoint which is going to point to the register method. Post register, and then here we're going to pass the auth class. We have to import it. We have to import the auth controller, and then right here we have to point to the register function, and then we need to check if we need to test if our endpoint it is working pretty well. I'm using Postman. Can go within the Postman and try to do this. Here we are going to go into the body, and here we are going to pass here. We're going to empty the value of each key in order to check if our validation is working pretty well. Now here, if we run this, we are getting here an error. Let's check online. Now let's test our endpoints, and then here you can see we are getting an error. We are passing an endpoint which doesn't exist. Then we need to test the register endpoints and see what we get here. Yeah, our validation is working pretty well. We are getting here the name fee it is required. We're getting a validation error. Now we need to pass here the name. We're going to pass here Chris at gmail.com, and here we're going to pass Chris1112 is the password, and see if we are getting a SQL error. Password doesn't have a default value. Here we are getting another error here. Let's fix it. The password, we didn't write password correctly. Password, let's check again. Yeah, you can see here our endpoint, it is returning an object of the created user and the message your account was created. Now we need to create the login endpoint. Here, let's move to the API. Let's copy this, and here we're going to do login. We're going to point to the login method, and here we need to add the login method, public function login. We need to pass the request. Now, for the login, we are going to request the email fields and the password. Let's grab this validation right here and paste it here. We are going to request email and password. And now the next things we have to do is to check first if the user exists within the table. We're going to use the email column, and then we're going to pass fields, that fields email, and then we are going to use the first method. And here we are going to check if the user, it is not null here, but also we are going to check if the provided password by using the hash class check. We're going to do the provided password, which is the password. It is equal to the hash password, which is stored within the database. And then here, if this condition it is false, we are going to return a response with a status of 401, which means an authenticated user. We're going to do response with a message. We're going to say email or password invalid. And then here we are going to pass a status of 401, an authenticated user. And then the next thing is to create the token. Here we're going to do user create token, and we need to pass the create token a key, and the key should be longer. Now let me copy this key right here because I doesn't have a key. Now you can use whatever key you want, and here I'm going to create a property private, I'm going to say secret key, and I'm going to assign it this key. The key should be longer. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the secret key right here. I'm going to say this secret key. And then here I'm going to say plain text token, like this. That's how we create a token with Laravel Sanctum. And then I'm going to return a response which contains the user. Here we got the user, the logged in user, and the token of the user. Token. Now we need to return also the token. Now let's get into Postman and try to check if this endpoint, login endpoint, it is working pretty well. Now let's go to within the Postman. Now we need to create first a user right here. Let's register a user. Let's register. We're gonna say the name. It is going to be, we're gonna say Bob here. Let me add here Bob. We're going to register Bob. And the password, it is going to be Bob 1234, and then we just register a user. You can see here we got an error within the auth controller on line 67. Let's see 67 here. You can see here we got an error. We need to return also the status first. 67, the token here, you can see here we got an error. Should remove the syntax error, and then here come back and create the user. Now here you can see we just created a user, the user Bob, and then we need to log in the user. You're going to change here the endpoint, register to login, and then here I'm going to remove the name here, and then I'm going to log in the Bob user. And here you can see we just logged Bob user. Let me do it. You can see here we just logged the Bob user, and we can get the logged in user, which is Bob, and the token of the Bob user that we are going to use to get access to some protected endpoints. Now here, if we modify here the password, we pass a bad password, we are going to get a message of email password, it is invalid. And in the next video, we're going to work on the post model, but also don't forget to subscribe, and I see you there.